What is the creepiest glitch in the Matrix you've experienced? I mentioned this in another thread, but here it is again. Me and my friend were at a Chinese restaurant. And we ordered a General Tso chicken dinner and a shrimp lo mein dish. When we sat down, we took out both boxes and set them on the table about 2 feet apart. My friend opens the first box and we see a shrimp lo mein dish. It has all the things in there. Noodles. Shrimp. Fried rice. He closes the box and opens the other box. Inside that box is another shrimp lo mein dish. Shrimp. Noodles. Fried rice. Oh, I think they must have mixed the order. I was just about to say this when my friend says out loud, looks like they made a mistake and gave us 2. As he opens up the first box again. Inside of it is a General Tso chicken dinner order. General Tso chicken. White rice. And an egg roll. He froze and looked at me. I looked back at him. And we sat in silence. It took us 5 or so minutes to collect ourselves. I have no idea what happened. I knew my uncle had died. My mom had called me and told me the news. It was very sad. She told me in the middle of work and I told one of my co-workers. He expressed his condolences on my loss. A couple weeks later, my sister mentioned my aunt and uncle doing something. I said, but he's dead. And my sister said no. He wasn't. I called my mom. No. He wasn't dead. To this day I'm still not sure how much of it my brain imagined and how much was real. Did I really talk to my co-worker? Was I even on the phone with my mom at all that day? It still freaks me out knowing that my mind could fabricate so complete and real a memory like that. This happened to my dad, so it's not exactly a personal story. Anyway. My dad was driving down a long lonely highway in Ohio doing about 90 in his Z28 with a radar detector. Rolling hills and whatnot meant that cops could hide at the bottom before you could see them and slow down. So, all of a sudden, his radar detector starts blaring and he slams on the brakes. Right over the hill. There's a squad car running radar. He's super relieved. But when he looks at the detector, it's not even on the windshield. It was unplugged and in the glove compartment. What the? TLDR. Ghost radar sector kept my dad from getting a ticket. One morning when I was 15, my dad looked tired and stressed. I asked him what was up. He said he had an awfully realistic dream of me killing myself. Said in the dream he came into my room to find me hanging from my neck in the closet. It bothered him so bad that he actually came and checked on me while I was asleep. Not too big of a deal, but not cool as I thought. 20 minutes later my sis comes into the room. Fresh from waking up. She looks at me and first thing she said was, "Damn Ross, I had a weird dream. I came in your room and you had shot yourself in the head. It was messed up." I told her that dad had a dream about me killing myself last night too. And had him explain it to her. We just kinda sat there in an unnerving silence. I've never been suicidal, but that freaked the whole family out. One night I had a dream about being in a car with my sister at the church we went to. For some reason it started going out of control. So I jumped to the wheel and tried to keep us from dying. Later I told my sister about the dream. And she had the exact same dream. But instead she was the one at the wheel and not me. Probably not exactly what OP means, but having a false awakening was interesting. It's where you wake up, get the day rolling, etc. But you're actually still dreaming. Only had it happen once. Got paranoid for the entire day after that. I've had that happen a few times before. It's super annoying. Like, damn it, I already did this once. When I was about 10 I was trying to toss the cereal box to the top shelf and kept missing. The last time I threw it, it was obvious it wasn't going to make it, and then it just floated the rest of the way. Me and my brother made eye contact and ran to our room. Edit. To everyone saying the cereal inside made it push the rest of the way. I understand what you're saying, but this was like 2-3 shelves that it was pushed up and the tiny amount of force wouldn't have been enough. You had a bro ghost in your house. Yeah, should have held out ya fist for a pound it as thanks lol. was monkeying on the handrails of a balcony on the 4th floor of my building and fell off. As 2 of my buddies watched in horror. I remember seeing the concrete floor approaching as I fell headfirst and thinking, oh, I'm going to break my wrist. Why my wrist? Dunno. Next recollection is seeing my buddies yelling from up there, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Full stop. I look up. I say, "What happened?" Full stop. They did not see my actually hit the floor. They just ran outside and saw me already standing looking up. Not a scratch. Not a bruise. Nothing hurted. I don't remember hitting the floor. Standing up. Nothing. No memories exist for those 1 or 2 seconds. None of us 3 ever understood what happened. But we all saw it and agree on what happened. I used to live in North Carolina a few years ago and still regularly go back to visit friends. While I was there, my friends and I, who are now in college or are graduated, ran into somebody who we had known, although I didn't know her very well, back in high school. A few days later I flew back home to Texas. The next day I went to the grocery store and was walking down the aisle when I see a girl that looks exactly the same. I did the biggest double take I've ever done. Being 1,400 miles away from the city where I knew the girl lived, it seemed absolutely impossible. As it turns out, after I called my friend about it, the girl I had been talking to in North Carolina has an identical twin in Texas who just happens to live in the same city as me. For a couple hours. I thought I was crazy though. I was sitting in my car with just my dad and I distinctly heard my sister, who was at home, say, "Are you guys almost home?" I'm scared in a very specific, concerned tone of voice. 2 seconds later, my dad's phone rings. Guess who's on the line? My sister. She said, "Are you guys almost home?" I'm scared in the same concerned tone of voice. Something like this happened to me too. I was in the basement with my girlfriend and had a vision of my sister coming down and asking me for the phone. In doing so she caught me getting a little too snuggly with my GF. After this little vision, I instantly jumped up, grabbed my phone and ran to the stairs, and there was my sister, just about to come and ask me for the house phone. I got in a motorcycle accident about 6 years ago. I'm going 45 through town and a woman, who didn't see me, turns left in front me. It could only have been a millisecond, but I remember weighing my options and thinking if I should try and go over the car or under it by laying the bike down. I put the bike down. It went straight under her car. I went diagonally. I slid across the pavement wearing no helmet, no jacket, just jeans and a cheap zip-up hoodie from Walmart. So I slid for 80 feet or so, not sure on the exact measurement, but it was a long way, on the pavement, and when I stopped I just stood up and the only thing wrong was that there was a hole in my hoodie cuff about the size of a dime. Not a scratch anywhere on me. I remember looking at it, then at my mangled bike. When I was in 1st grade or so, I had this crazy dream that my best friend was actually there with me having a sleepover. I woke up, saw him on the air mattress, and he sat up and started to float. He goes, "Look, I think I can fly." And I said, "Oh my gosh, you can. Maybe I can too," and I could. So we flew around my bedroom together. And he pulled a book off my bookshelf using telekinesis. And we read it. That's all I could remember. Next day I go to school and tell my friend about my dream. I explained that he was over for a slumber party. He woke up in the middle of the night, started to float, etc. And his face gets panicked. He stops me and says, "I think I had that exact dream." I said, "Seriously?" And he says, "Yay. You could fly too, and we flew around your room together and I could move things with my mind. And I moved a book off your bookshelf." We were pretty freaked out. I've won the lottery twice by playing numbers that I saw in dreams the night before. First dream was me entering the numbers 4906 on a keypad for some reason, and the second dream months later was me using a bottle of 409. I only won a couple of $100, but it's better than nothing. I got exact matches both times. Deleted. 0. 4806. I once had a nightmare in the middle of the night. I woke up to the sound of something in my dream screaming in my ear. When I woke up, my ear was still ringing. No alarm. Just the wall that ran parallel to my bed. Had a dream where I was strapped to an operating table in a dark room lit only by the surgical lamp. At some point, a surgeon appeared and stated this will only take a minute. Before I could question the statement, he took a large bone saw and ripped clean through my arm with a few short strokes. I awoke with a startle, heart racing and sweating profusely, but relieved to see I was still in my own bed. That's when it hit me. I couldn't feel my arm. Initiate panic mode. Turns out, somehow I managed to fall asleep on my arm with it twisted behind my back, logically comfortable, until it lost all feeling and functionality. I spent 10 minutes in the dark trying to regain normalcy to my limp arm. In retrospect, I should have spent 10 minutes giving myself a stranger. In about 2003 or 2004, my mother, who is absolutely not a believer in ghosts or glitches in matrices etc and would never exaggerate a story, told me about a dream she had which I have never forgotten. She said she had dreamt about an old family friend who was dying of lung cancer. In her dream she was hanging out the washing on the clothesline in our backyard, when suddenly he walked through the trees and called out to her. She noticed he was wearing a pilot uniform. She was shocked to see him looking so well, and exclaimed, "Oh my god. You look well. Why are you here? Come and talk to me." Full stop. He answered, "Sorry. No. I've only come to say goodbye to you. And to tell you I'm so much better. But I can't stay. I've got to go now. Goodbye." And off he walked. Past her. Through the yard and out of sight. For some reason, my mother woke up, rolled over and looked at the time. 5:23 AM. Later that day she got a phone call from his wife. He had passed away at that exact time. I got a call from a police officer telling me if I didn't pay some old fines within a week he would come arrest me. The total was $267.63. It was about 2 weeks before Christmas, so I was really sweating it. The very next day I got a check in the mail for $267.63 for overpaid child support throughout the year. Craziest, most unexplainable thing I've ever had happen to me. Did you pay the fines or buy 267 lottery tickets and 2 gumballs? I was moving into a new apartment where my new roommate had a long-haired orange cat named Floyd. I was taking trips from my car to my room moving boxes in, and Floyd was outside. Each time I went inside and then came back out to my car, there was another orange cat outside sitting directly next to Floyd. This repeated until there were 4 total cats, all sitting in a row watching me. Meowtosis. Might not be the best one, but this one comes to mind. So the television was completely gone because of a storm. Satellite. Mum's playing with the remote, flipping randomly between channels trying to find anything that still works. My parents are TV addicts. Okay. Dot. She leaves it on a random channel, puts the remote down and says, "Looks like the satellite's out," to my father. Just as she finished the statement, the static cuts out and clear as day we hear Kelsey Grammer, Frasier, say "not anymore," followed by laugh track. Thinking I hear the TV in another room, but the second I walk into it and realize it was never on. And WHO was TV. Looked in the mirror and I swear I saw the back of my head. Time to get a haircut. Was looking at the giant poster of Jordan on my wall, considering if I should take it down. Turned the channel and the person on TV said, "Jordan's gotta go." It was a show about the country. Took the poster down. Oh. I have a story. One time my wife and I were coming back from a dinner night out. When I opened the door of the house, she was sitting at the computer working, as I usually find her when I get home. Nothing unusual, except she was entering the house with me. I shrugged it off and carried on. We went to bed and I told her that I saw her sitting at the computer. And she goes dead serious and told me that when I opened the door, she saw herself sitting at the computer working. Creepiest thing I've ever experienced. The fact that our neighbor's 2-year-old daughter used to point to the TV when it was off and tell us that the person on the screen was making scary faces and that she wanted it to go away didn't help us getting much sleep that night. So your wife sees herself and doesn't think to mention it until you brought it up later? WTF is that all about? If I came home and opened the door to find myself sitting on the couch, I'd 5 bricks, run away, and never return. About every 3 or 4 days, I see a tan colored mid-2000s Ford F250 with a matching tan grille guard. The grille guard has a uniquely shaped black streak toward the passenger side. On the days I see it, I will pass in oncoming traffic 5+ times throughout my day, sometimes within minutes of each other. On the other days, I don't even see it once. I do not drive in a repetitive schedule. I do service calls at different locations every day. I've passed the truck on the farthest edges of town, on almost all of the highways leading in out of town. And I've even seen it once in a neighboring town that is at least an hour-and-a-half drive. If the oil field traffic isn't heavy that day, it always has the same distinctive mark on the matching tan grille guard. The windows are always just too dark to see clearly inside, but I can usually see the figure of a man wearing a cowboy hat. Sometime last September, I stopped seeing the tan truck. However, since the start of February, I've seen it 4 times. It's back. The movie Sweet Home Alabama just came out in cinemas and my friend wanted to see it. I was confused why it was on at the cinema when it had come out a few years ago. He told me it was just today. I told him the plot and that it was old. He convinced me to see it anyway and I remained convinced to seen it all the way through and was correct with my description of the plot. Turns out it had just come out that day. That has always weirded me out. It was like deja vu, but I described the movie before I'd seen it. Not to take anything away from your experience, but if you've seen one rom-com you've seen them all. I swear, I saw the same person in the last patch put total populations at 7 billion unique NPCs. How is that not enough? You ungrateful little s. A single repeat slips through, and you notice immediately. Every couple of days I'll log into Reddit and go into a Screddit, and there will always be someone asking what the biggest glitch in the Matrix is. People post and then a few days later it happens again. It's weird. Edit. Accidentally a word. Okay. For starters, I can never remember my dreams. It's like they don't happen. But every once in a while, I'll wake up and remember a bit of it. For instance, I'll remember who was standing beside me or something that was said. Then, a few days or even weeks later, that thing that I remember will happen. For example, one dream. My friend was leaning on the desk in front of me. It was at the end of 7th period and everybody was at their lockers, but we decided to stay back. She was toying around with a small piece of paper, then she crumpled it up and threw it at me, hitting me in the face. Then maybe a week later, that exact scenario played out in real life. It's crazy. Also, the bits I do remember, I only remember for a little while. Then I forget until it happens and it all comes back. It's kind of frightening. This is a story that my cousins and I like to tell. When I was around 6 or 7 years old, my uncle, who had just visited from the Philippines, showed us a doll that sang the Itsy Bitsy Spider when you pressed a button on her hand. He brought it with the intention that one of my girl cousins might want it. But in all honesty, we all thought the doll was creepy, especially since it sang the song in a slow, ominous manner. Not knowing what to do with it, we took out the batteries and threw it back in the box that my uncle had put it in. Right after we left the room, all we heard was a muffled "the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout." Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Asterisk. The doll was still singing without eyeing batteries. No one was in the room at the time, which means no one could have replaced the batteries nor pressed a button on her hand. It still baffles us to this day. My sister and I are forever scared of the dark now. When I was around 7 I lived on a farm and we had a jacuzzi outside. My sister, 6 years old, and I were asked to go outside late at night and close the jacuzzi cover because it had accidentally been left open. So we go outside and we're trying really hard to lift the cover. It was really heavy and we were both young, and suddenly the sky erupted with this huge mushroom atomic bomb explosion. It was huge and getting bigger and my sister screamed and we ran as fast as we could into the house. Nobody ever believes us but we both swear it happened. My brother started hanging around with the wrong crowd. One day my partner got a real bad feeling in his gut. He had to block the front door. Nothing I could say would stop him or convince him how crazy he was being. The door just had to be blocked. The desk got moved in front of the door and I had to use the back door to get in and out of the house. 2 days later bro's friends came looking for him. He owed them some cash. Because my partner had blocked the front door I had to open the window to speak with them. I'm eternally grateful to my partner for moving the desk and blocking the door. Bro's friends came at me with a knife but cause I was through the window they missed me and got the knife caught in the curtain netting instead of in my gut. The next day partner said, "That feeling in my gut's gone now. Let's move the desk back and unblock the door." When I was younger I once had a dream where I woke up, walked over to my bedroom window, and looked out into the parking lot and watched a bomb land and explode. It startled me awake and again I got out of bed, walked over to the same window, and looked out to see another bomb land and explode. I woke up again, unsure of what's going on and questioning whether or not it's another dream. I sat there on my bed for a bit and looked around. Looked at my hands and arms. And I again walked over to the window. With hesitation pulled open the curtains and peeked out. Nothing happened. I was awake this time. It was very bizarre. Have someone hold you by the wrists about a 30-degree angle to the ground face down. Relax your body and just hang there for about 60 seconds. Then, with your eyes closed, be slowly lowered to the ground. Arms stretched above your head. Again. Stay relaxed. You will feel as though your arms pass through the ground and hang straight down in front of you. It's bizarre. Elaborate or link to video instructions. I was waiting for the bus next to a busy road and I was starting to feel anxious. So I decided to stand up and walk away for 50 feet and I already felt better. So I started walking back and on that moment I saw a truck losing control and demolishing the spot where I was 20 seconds ago. I was actually just thinking of the older glitch in the Matrix thread on here about a year ago. And I get on here to find this thread. Same exact title too. Creepy. Edit. This isn't a bad thing either. I love hearing new stories of creepy. My mom and I basically share the same mind. I'm 27 and have been living on my own since 18. So it's not like we are even in the same house or work together or anything like that. So basically we will have entire conversations about everyday things in our heads. I can't explain why this happens but we will even sometimes pick up the phone and continue on the same conversation. We literally telepathically communicate every day and constantly know where the other person is and what they are doing without telling each other. I know this isn't the scariest or interesting story, but it makes me question if what we have been told is reality is in fact true. People think you are crazy, and it certainly drives my husband crazy, so you try and hide it, but if there are all these stories maybe we are not the only ones. The second and third movies. There's only one Matrix movie. I told my friends that crawling was going to be on the radio when we got in the car. It was. And then it happened 2 more times, same song. Different days. But how many times didn't it happen? When my wife was in the early stages of her second pregnancy I was doing some work around the apartment. I suddenly, and for no reason, felt extremely angry and aggressive against my wife. A few minutes later my wife came to me and told me we had to go to the hospital. The baby had aborted. One time I had a dream that I was drowning. And right before I was about to let the water enter my lungs, I got woken up by someone calling me. It was my friend. Asking if I wanted to go surfing. Sure as I got caught in a big set of waves and struggled too much as I was getting thrashed in the whitewash and almost drown. When I finally got back to shore and collapsed in the sand, I thought about that dream and got weirded out. You've been warned.